Do you think you can make the argument that he hasn't said thank you?
Well, I think the vice president said he hadn't said it today. He hadn't heard it today in that meeting. And we were hoping that that meeting would begin by thank you for everything you've done for us. We wouldn't be where we are today without you. We wouldn't even have a chance to negotiate a peace without the help you gave us. By the way, without the help you gave us when you were president in the first term, because President Obama refused to provide them defensive capabilities in terms of military hardware. He did provide him blankets.
Yeah, and that was brought up today during that
aid,
meeting.
It was brought up, but I was there. In fact, I vividly recall at the time Vice President Biden saying to me in a meeting that we had at the Vice President's residence that the reason why we didn't want to provide them those weapons is because they might use them. That was his exact quote, and that was the attitude. I remember clearly then the Ukrainian leaders saying, we don't need more blankets or MREs. We need weapons to defend ourselves, and they didn't do it. President Trump did. He provided them weaponry, some of it, much of it, which was used at the beginning of this war. And without those weapons being in their stocks, this war could have been over very quickly, 2, 3, 4 days. Another pot shot that Zelensky took today, when the president pointed that out, you know what Zelensky said? He said, yeah, we've heard that from the Russians. That's not a Russian narrative. That was the official position, okay, of the United States. I vividly recall being briefed by leaders in the Biden administration telling us that this war was going to be over in 5 to 6 days. They believed that. That was their assessment at the time. And it wasn't the case because of the weapons that Ukraine had in its stocks because of President Trump in his first term. So he should have been grateful for that and grateful for what we're doing now. And one more point. It's not just President Trump. There's news reports out there from NBC News, at least is one of the places I recall, reporting that Biden had a shouting match with Zelensky for not being grateful and not being thankful for everything that was provided back in 2022. Now, that didn't happen in front of the press. That was leaked, but it got out there. These frustrations are not unique to President Trump. There was those frustrations in the previous administration, if NBC News is to be believed.
Right. But obviously we've never seen anything like what we saw today. But the point that Zelensky was making there is that everyone predicted his demise, and Ukraine was able to fight and to survive. Zelensky was able to survive. The Ukrainian people have been fighting for 3 years. You yourself have said previously that the United States should assist Ukraine as long as the Ukrainians are willing to fight. So I think the question coming out of that meeting is what happens next year? I mean, you are the U.S. chief diplomat. Is there a path for diplomacy? Is a ceasefire still a possibility tonight?
Well, number one, you know who else said that Ukraine is very brave and very valiant? President Trump. He said it today. He said it repeatedly. Your soldiers have been very brave. Your fighters have been very brave. Your people have been very brave. He said that repeatedly. And everyone recognizes that. But we're 3 years into a war that has no end in sight and no exit strategy. The EU doesn't have an exit strategy. I saw the comments tonight from the leader of the EU saying there needs a new leader of the free world. I mean, these people are just playing silly games and saying these things. What is their exit strategy? What is anybody else's exit strategy? The only person on the planet who is actively trying to bring an end to this conflict is named Donald Trump, the President of the United States. He's the only one that's trying to do it, and we should be helping him to achieve it. And so I think it's possible? Yeah, I hope it's possible, because that's what we do try to do at the Department of State, is we try to bring end to conflicts, not start new ones, and certainly not extend them.